Hello, everybody. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live today. So, for any of you who are not a member of Skift, you may not know what today is. Today is Megatrends Day. And, happy Megatrends Day for all of you who celebrate. That would be all of us on this call and everybody who's watching backstage. We've got about 500 of you online right now. So, I know, right? Lex? Yeah. So we're gonna have
Didn't realize.
hi everybody. So we are gonna have a great conversation today. Our Megatrends dropped this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And so we're both gonna do a little bit of chatting about the megatrends themselves and a little bit of a peek as to how we actually create these things. And it is a labor of love, I can tell you that. So first of all, let us bring up all of the beautiful artwork that Skiff's creative team did for these. If you go and you look at the Megatrends on live, we decided to go with a bit of a tarot card motif this year, a bit of like, what does the future hold? And so the editorial package is 12 Megatrends. And today we're going to talk about, I don't know, maybe four, maybe six of them. And then you're going to just have to read the rest. So first, we'll talk about one that was kind of near, I don't know if near and dear is the right word, but it's close to all of us because we are all sitting here in the United States of America. And that is that tourists have indeed kind of given up on the United States. We have seen this pattern right here that you can see. It's quite stark. Seth, you want to talk us through a little bit of this data? I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory, but what you have found through some of the Skift research surveys, looking and talking to international travelers, inbound travelers who are increasingly not coming here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And hello, everybody. It's great to see you. Um, and yeah, again, happy Megatrends Day. It is the most wonderful time of the year for sure. Um, and yeah, so I think this is a great one. This Megatrend, it's our tarot card is the closed gate about tourists giving up on the United States of America. I mean, there is a clear trend that we have seen in a decline in inbound travel to the United States. That's what this chart here shows. We're looking at year over year change in visits to the United States, and it's pretty well, the data is pretty straightforward. I would say it's not like in a total free fall. Like it's not like getting worse and worse and worse, but we've taken a big hit and we're really struggling to recover. The biggest hit has been Canadian inbound tourism and Canadian travelers who really ticked off by a lot of the 51st state
Yeah.
rhetoric. And that's something we talk about, Sarah. Um,
Yeah.
it's easy to
So
be cynical. It's easy to be cynical, but they've stuck to their guns, right?
yeah, I mean, you can see a lot of the big drop off here, and not to put this squarely at the feet of President Trump, but a lot of the reaction that we have seen and why a lot of these inbound tourists are no longer coming is directly related to the political environment and the atmosphere within the United States. We Skift research did a
Yeah.
survey. They found that 54%. Well, here I'll just read it to you and agree with this statement. Trump's policies made me less willing to travel to the US. And so this is what we found. We found, 54% were either strongly agree or agree. And we haven't really seen, especially with all of the news reports of detentions at the border, visa issues, the rhetoric hasn't really stopped. And so, I think that
Yeah.
we don't have any reason to think that this won't continue, but there is one big wild card that is going on, or one big, huge, massive issue that really kind of collides with this megatrend. And that is the United States of America is co hosting with Canada and Mexico, kind of humorously, I guess, gallows humor, the World Cup this year in 2026. So, what do you think? Do you, what do you think is going to happen? Give me your thoughts. Like, take the research, take what you know to be true about sports and how
Team
people
USA goes
travel.
all the way to the end and wins it all, right?
Oh, there
That's the
you
kind
go.
of prediction you're asking me to make? No.
No,
I think
yeah,
it's
no.
it's it's gonna be a struggle. I think
Yeah,
that the World Cup, it's this incredible event. And when
yeah,
we look back at the data, you look back at the trends, it is a huge driver of tourism, a huge driver of investment, and it's an opportunity for host nations, in this case, for a host continent, to showcase its travel and tourism potential. Um, but it's, I think it's the World Cup has its work cut out for it, so to speak. This year, I was saying earlier, Canadian tourists have been taking it
Yeah.
very personally and have been boycotting the U.S. to extent. Um, Mexican tourists may not be so eager to cross the border and come over to the United States right now. And if you're coming from Europe or from further afield, we do see negative sentiment, and we see also some challenges with visa processing. So, I mean, I think that they will make it a success.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be strong domestic appeal. I think that they will make it a success. I think that there's a lot that hotels and airlines can do to win. But to me, it's not a question of will it be a success or not. The question is, will it be as great as it could have possibly been? If that
Yeah.
makes any
Like,
sense.
yeah, this is one of the biggest, as they say, soft power opportunities that a country, or in this case, a continent, has in its tourism and travel cycle, is to host this type of event. And I agree. I think it absolutely will be a success. I think that it will go off. I think people will come. But I think what the interesting question that I leave to the, to data analysts like yourself and people who do surveys and really look at it after the fact is, what's the delta between what happened and what might have been?
Yeah.
That's really my big question.
And I think one of the things, and Sarah, you wrote this mega trend, and I think one of the
Yeah.
things that's interesting about tourists coming from the United States is that we've talked about the political, which is
Yep.
Trump, which is tariffs. Um, we've also talked about some of the other just hurdles, and I alluded to visa processing times and some other just bureaucratic border issues. And then the third piece, which you bring up in your megatrend, is also affordability, which I think is an
Right.
interesting angle as well. Tourism in the United States is down. It's not 100% because of Donald Trump. It's not even
Right.
100% because of politics or tariffs or anything. It's also because it's a very expensive destination, and there are cheaper places to go to get your vacation.
Yeah. Well, all of us are sitting in New York City. Lex is also sitting
Yeah.
in New York City, as you could hear there for a while, the sirens going on in the background. So, affordability is probably, I would say, if there was a buzzword going on right now about travel, tourism, politics, and the intersection of all of those things, it would be affordability. Lex, and what you have seen and in your coverage, and Lex is our editor who went through all of these megatrends and made them just read and sing just like they do. What are you seeing about how people are reacting to this affordability, I don't know, crisis, if you want to, if you will?
I think, I mean, it's the biggest trend we've seen, and the affordability piece is absolutely driving this. So we knew about Trump. Now, to be honest, I didn't think it would last as long as it did. We all got
Yeah.
together. What was it, in March, and we were talking
Yeah.
about and say, like, and we just started to see the first piece of this, like those first, like, people held up at the border. And I was like, well, this type of thing usually fades. And now we've had 6 straight months of declines. We're probably going to have the first decline since 2020 overall. Um, Skift Research did that great survey about the Trump effect. But yes, absolutely, affordability. We've been covering it all year. That feeling of being nickel and dimed.
Yeah.
One of our megatrends last year was about junk fees, and it sort of got resolved, but not really. It's like I can't think of anyone who would say, like, travel has gotten more affordable in the past
I
6 months, and the U.S. ranks much worse than everyone else.
Yeah. I can't remember if Rafet actually wrote about this, but he
He
called me and told
absolutely
me
did.
about it. So, well, no, just like that nickel and diming. Like he told me once he was staying at a fairly high end hotel in Las Vegas, and they charged him like $27 to bring up some hot water for tea.
Right.
Like
And
stuff
just
like
this
that.
weekend he wrote about the end of the completely abandonment of the middle
Yeah.
class. So you've got, which we're going to get to, I know, about
Yeah.
the super high end, but just not a lot of offerings for the middle class.
Yeah. So 2026, that's Megatrend number one. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go through a few of these. Please send in your questions. We are very interested to hear from you, what you're curious about, what we can tell you, and then we're gonna, like I said, take a little peek behind the curtain. So next, I am curious. Have either one of you ever ordered a mocktail at a bar?
I had my first non-alcoholic beer at a German beer hall with sausage. Does that count?
That I would say that
Absolutely.
counts more than almost any other thing. But yes, absolutely. Seth, have you? I have.
And it
I
was
haven't.
delicious, by the
No.
way.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this when we get to the trend, and I know that this is opposite to the trend. I can't bear myself to pay full cocktail price for a mocktail. Speaking of
Yes.
affordability, but I know I'm in the
We are gonna
minority.
get to that.
But I know I'm in the
Yeah.
minority on that.
So, I mean, I always do when I'm working. That's my thing. It's just like work's hard enough. I can't have a headache and do it at the same time. But and we of course travel a lot for work. But so this trend going into 2026, and this one kind of happened, I thought, like slowly and then suddenly, to quote, I believe that's Hemingway. Um, travelers are just not drinking as much. They're not. And especially the kids, or the young adults, I should say. The kids these days. They're just not into booze. I don't know. It's a lot of it, they say, is because it is not healthy. We know it is not healthy. I think we've always known that, but we've not known it to kind of to the extent that we now kind of understand, some of the risks. Um
Can
I
I
think,
you know,
yeah,
what do you think,
go ahead.
Sarah? No, no, you finish your thought,
Oh, I was
please.
gonna say, I think a lot of people are what they call California sober, not I think that the rise of the legalization of cannabis is driving this as well. Um, and then what else, Seth? What's your
Well,
other
I
theory?
I think it's in some ways a logical outcome of the mega trend, decades long trend of experiences over things. If you are collecting experiences and you are
Yeah.
paying a ton of money, back to this point about affordability, if you're paying thousands of dollars for an experience and you're collecting an experience, why would you want to be hungover during it? Why would you want to not remember it? Why would you want to drink your way through it? You'd want to really savor every moment. So I think that that's a part of it too.
And there's also I have, like, tween and teenage kids. There's also something about a trend when it catches on and it
Yeah.
just snowballs. Like, it's just not as cool anymore. Like, that's a fact. And so that's something that the F&B business, and I think the wine industry and everybody associated with travel and tourism that kind of makes their bread and butter off of that is really, dealing with and grappling with. But the
Well,
other
some
thing
huge
that
percent.
Oh,
Sorry,
go
Sarah.
ahead.
Go.
No, I
No, I
was
was gonna
just
say
gonna say, but
you finish.
you go. You go. I'm not
I was
gonna
gonna
talk
say some
anymore.
huge percent of hotel revenue. I think almost in industry wide, nearly 20% of hotel revenue comes from food and beverage. So I sort of I facetiously asked this question because I kind of know the answer because I've read the trend. But for this trend of teetotaling travelers saying no to booze, my gut would be if people aren't drinking, it's going to severely hurt hotel revenue and profits. And I was going to ask yourself or
Yeah.
Lex if that's
And
what you
yeah,
see. And yeah,
wrong.
Yeah. I mean, that's what was so much fun about this trend. I think, Sarah, you were the first to catch this one. The number we're looking at here was the Gallup survey. And Luke Martin, our hospitality reporter, started looking into it. And it turned out, yes, all the companies we spoke to in the travel industry were very aware of this and they were responding to it. So, Marriott, Hilton, cruise lines, some of the more kind of elite hotel chains as well. And what struck us was, because we went into it with exactly what Seth said, and what stood out to us was they're like, no, we're charging the same, if not more, and our profit margins are holding up. So that, I mean, that was just a huge finding through our reporting.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell a story, and I didn't ask the one question. I should text my contact here and ask him, but he was telling me he works for food and beverage in an ultra high-end, um, hotel brand. And for any of you who are familiar with, going to clubs, sometimes you have to buy a bottle to get a table. It's usually a bottle of champagne, can be a bottle of anything, I think. But I don't know, in my youth, those bottles were consumed. Now he says that a lot of times when they go at the end of the night, those, thousands of dollars of champagne, they're unopened. My question would be, what do you do with them afterwards? Like, I don't know what you do with them, but I should
The
find out.
booze is becoming an entry ticket.
Yeah,
And importantly,
exactly.
what we're seeing, to Lex's point, is that you can charge very high ticket prices, cocktail like prices for a mocktail. And guess what? You don't even need to use the most expensive ingredient in the drink. And so, in some ways, this is an important trend for anyone who serves alcohol, which would be a hotel, a plane, a travel experience, a tour operator. These are all parts of the experience. It's actually an incredible way, in some ways, to embrace this trend can be a real boost to
Yeah.
profits, to margins.
So let's talk about luxury a little bit too. So
Yeah.
the trend on luxury is that the luxury bubble is just going to continue to get bigger. We call it a bubble because it's just enormous. But I cannot stress this enough. Everything in kind of the economic sphere of our world right now is profoundly weird. It is not like if you were to talk to an economist or you were go to college and like study what was supposed to happen with money. We are not in a place where anything is really kind of behaving the way it's supposed to behave. I mean, my favorite one is that the price of gold and the price of stocks, at least, you know, a few weeks ago, they're both at all-time highs. They should not all both be at all-time highs. They should be inverse to each other. And so we've got this luxury bubble where, and some people talk about this as the K-shaped economy as well, where we've got, the ultra high end. I mean, they are propping up all of the travel industry, and I would say probably all of the economy, um, as we are going right now. So it's just going to get bigger in 2026. I think the big question is it going to burst and what happens when and if it does, or like maybe not. Maybe this is status quo. Maybe we've just changed and are moving on from here. Lex, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, look, I've been covering this issue since probably the early 2000s now, right? So I remember the Bush tax cuts. Then I remember the collapse in 2008. I was down at Zuccotti Park. I wrote the headline "The End of Wall Street," and then what's happened since then? Just 15 years of a straight shot up in the stock market, which absolutely just went straight to the top 10% of the country, and then certainly the top 1% and the top 0.1%. So I think one of the places we're coming from when we said it's just going to get bigger is we've been predicting that this cannot be sustainable for 2 decades, and it just keeps
And
getting
yet,
bigger. And yeah, and so we really, as a group, started to think about like, well, what we certainly see the risk, right? You have so much of the industry on top of just a smaller group of customers, which inherently is riskier. But on the other hand, what's going to upset that and what's going to break it? And short of just the most epic collapse you could think of in financial markets, which, by the way, I'm so happy to be with you too. Every time I've been on with you, the world has been imploding around us. And so now we're at all-time highs. But um, the short of that, like and a wealth tax or
well,
I don't
and if
even
you
know
think
what, but that's
Well,
not going
if
to
you
happen
think
next
about it,
year, right?
we had the biggest calamity. Like we just lived through it. To be
the
fair,
pandemic
yes. Like
and
we
wealth
had it.
and the stock market did great, and the stock market ripped.
Yeah, it had a really big dip and then it just
Right.
shot
And
right
well,
back
and
up
so,
again.
and for a year, we wrote stories about how the middle class was doing better. They were showing more wage gains, et cetera. And now that has reversed as well. And so,
Do you
and all the
think?
gains are going back just to the top 1%.
I mean, is some of it also that the middle class and the upper middle class is getting more of a taste for luxury? I mean, we write in this
Oh, I
megatrend
think so.
about Spirit Airlines struggling. And Frontier and JetBlue adapt and add in international routes and add in first class seats, and United get even more premium. And even all of these traditionally mid scale hotel brands acquiring or moving into luxury. So I do think that part of it is the rich get richer, and that there's this top 10% that are uber wealthy, and they are, by the way, moving from uh, the Four Seasons hotel to these insane Four Seasons yachts. And then there's the middle class and the upper middle class, which actually maybe is doing pretty good. And they are no longer want to stay in a mid-scale hotel. They've
And they
acquired a
do not
taste for
want
the
to
good
fly
life.
economy. They
Yeah,
do not
yeah.
wanna yeah, they that I think is the easiest one, I think, for just everybody to understand. Like, once you've flown business class once, you never wanna fly economy again.
Which then becomes this question of you never want to fly business class again, but
Right.
can you get away with? Sorry, you never
Yeah,
want to fly economy, but can you
yeah.
financially get away with it? Which is, of course, this ties into this whole affordability issue and this issue of are people getting priced out, which brings us right back to that first trend about being priced out. Some European travelers being priced out of an American, even some Americans being priced out of an American vacation. But I like um, this megatrend was written by Bailey Schultz, and
Mhm.
she calls luxury a load barren wall, which I is a turn of phrase that I really enjoyed. This idea that um, the luxury segment has become load bearing, not just for the travel industry, but like I was saying, even for these brands like United, for Delta, for Marriott, the luxury chain scale has become a critical part of their growth story. We see that in the RevPAR data, we see that in the airline data, we see that in the even the tour. And this mega trend also highlights in the tour operator data, where tour operators are now seeing the opportunity to go from selling an $800 package tour to a thousand to 1,500 to 3,000 and beyond, which is I think an incredible price points and does, as long as, I mean, we can debate whether it's sustainable, but certainly while the music is playing, it's powerful for the industry.
If I had to if I was a betting woman, which I'm not really, I would say it is like the wall is permanent.
Yeah.
It is load bearing and it's not going anywhere. That's my guess. I don't think this bubble is gonna burst. I think it's just we're at a new normal, to use the way overused term.
And we're
That's
going to
my
see, and I tend to agree. And by the way, it's been that way for long enough that we are seeing
Yeah,
many travel companies respond. And if your product is not positioned or even built for that kind of a market, it's at a disadvantage.
yeah, and all the companies, as we've also seen through earnings calls and what have you, are doubling down.
Yeah.
They're creating the infrastructure for the long haul. All right, last one, and then we're gonna get to the behind the curtain segment, and we'll take your questions. Let's just talk about tech. Let's talk about all the ones that we had, we had a lot of megatrends touch on technology, um, LLMs, AI. I love this one though about,
Wait.
the first one about eVTOLs. Um, we just
Yeah.
got done with our aviation forum, and we heard a lot about eVTOLs, which are, for lack of a better term, electric helicopters. Um, and yeah, I happen to just love
Yeah,
this
it's
card that
these like
created.
short. I think this is a great trend.
Yeah,
This is one of those things where we keep, where Sarah, we actually have a self-driving car megatrend, but Sarah and I both talk about how when we first got in a self-driving car, we're like, wow, I can't believe we've seen the future. These eVTOLs, electric vertical takeoff or landing vehicles, which are these electric helicopters, um, they have been talked about for a long time. You've been playing with drones on the personal level for a long time, but it does feel like this is the year and this is the decade to come where they're really going to
yeah,
break through, and we're going to look back in 5 years and they're going to be everywhere. And I think that's really exciting. It's transformative, and I like this mega trend a lot. I like this mega trend so much. I even love. We haven't talked a ton about the tarot cards, but I do just love the design of this tarot card. That's not what an eVTOL looks like. That looks more like an ornithopter from Dune, which is a great movie that I love. But I think
so
this is so
I
much
I
fun.
will say I am a huge sci-fi fan. I pulled out my copy of Dune right from my bookshelf back there. E I did not know that that was in, homage to the ornithopter in Dune. So,
It
Seth,
is.
you know hats off to you for, I mean, the nerdiness, it just continues. I kind of love it. It just gets better and better the more I know you. So hats off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The deeper it goes, it's a deep. We'll try and hold it back the rabbit hole too much, but I love. Yeah, it definitely looks like an ornithopter, but we'll leave
So
that for a different trend presentation.
yeah, at our aviation forum, I asked one of our guests who has been an airline pilot for 40 years. I asked her what sparks joy for her. We talked about a lot of the challenges for for pilots for the airline sector, and she had two answers really. She said supersonic flight, which Seth and I have talked about at length, and eVTOLs. She said the same thing as you did. It'll be in the next decade that they will be everywhere.
And in the spirit of I don't know if nonpartisanship or bipartisanship, but we were kind of talking. We were being critical of the impacts of the Trump administration's policies on our very first megatrend. And in the interest of fairness and balance, I will say the Trump administration has been pushing on the FAA very hard to get these approved. There's going to be one of the major hurdles is technological, although my understanding is that that's mostly solved. And now the hurdle is going to be regulatory. And this has become a top priority for the Trump administration. They want to claim victory for bringing eVTOLs to U.S. airspace. So if it's something you're excited about, I mean, I guess if you think it's negative, then that's another bad. But I think in the interest of fairness to the Trump administration, we'll give them
Yeah.
credit for this one.
That was the same for supersonic flight too. Yeah.
We've got a few more tech ideas. This is kind of a multiple in one, but then
Yeah.
we're coming into the home stretch. So we're gonna take your questions, and this is Sarah, Lex, and I. We love audience questions. Like that's not sarcasm. Genuinely, we love them.
Yeah.
So hopefully you've got some good ones, and of course, we want to engage with you and get your feedback. So only a few more. This is our big tech section, and we're gonna hit on a couple of these different tech trends. I particularly like this one. We've been doing a lot of research on this on the Skift side. Travel marketers start trying to woo large language models. So this is about the end of search engine optimization, SEO, as we know it, the shift towards
I wouldn't say the end.
geo,
I would say the addition. I think
the addition.
I would say SEO and Google. I think they're fine. I think it's going to be okay for them, but only because of their
Because
AI
Google is
tools.
investing
Yeah.
so heavily in
Yes.
their LLM tools. Well,
Yes.
the idea is this GEO, generative engine optimization. So, how will you not just rank in a keyword search on Google, but how will you rank on an LLM ChatGPT search across Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT, of course?
Yeah.
And it's arguably the most pressing distribution and marketing question of the coming year and of this modern era of AI and travel.
Well,
And Lex, I mean, we've got some answers. We did try and come up with some ground rules, right?
We do. I mean, that's what you're seeing in the chart here. I think what it speaks to is just how much, and it's when you step back and look at the growth in the travel industry, or at least a big part of it, is dependent on SEO, right? They've built up their audience and through marketing on SEO, and they've like mastered it. And we're going to get to this too, Seth, on the next one from Dennis. This one was from Adriana Lee, our tech and AI reporter, and it was really about, well, what happens when all these LLMs are scraping your data, scraping your information, but not sending people back to you? And that's both what's freaking everybody out, but then also, and you can see it in our story where we lay out, how do you get them to recognize you, to notice you? And where it's going to become really important is when it turns agentic and they're actually doing bookings on your behalf. And you need those agents to be able to find your sites as well.
Yeah, and it's this huge question mark hanging over the industry.
yeah, I think that's one of the things that I think is really interesting is that even though there are some guideposts, there are some things that we think we think, like, if you put your company hat on, that we think they should be doing. For the last 25 years, companies have been, I mean, there's whole industries, there's whole, economies built around SEO and SEO marketing. And now there's a whole new playing field that has just popped up, really. I mean, you could say in the last 3 years since ChatGPT went live, but it's really even been shorter than that, because it took a minute for the world to kind of catch on to what exactly was happening here. So let's just say 2 years. We're only 2 whole years into this. And so we don't really know, or the marketers don't really know what's going to happen. Google was always a bit of a black box, but a lot of the marketers cracked that code. But you want to talk about black boxes? At least from what I've read for AI, even the Sam Altmans of the world don't entirely understand how their models work. So good luck to
Well,
good luck to all the
I will
marketers
tell
out
you, yeah, I mean, I think I'm glass. I'm an optimist.
there. Mhm.
And I think that one of the things is that potentially we see a triumph of quality product and experience over some of these other tools. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about at Skift Research and on stage at Global Forum and our group is that in this world of fewer searches but more contextual searches, if you have a great experience, a great product that can really be personalized, that should, in theory, surface and rise. The cream should rise to the top much more clearly in this world than in other worlds. But that will also raise challenges for not just the entire industry of SEO, but for the organizations and businesses like the online travel agencies that have effectively built a huge competitive advantage and moat around Google marketing and Google search. And that's actually, I think, our next mega trend, which is about, if we go to the next slide, Camille. I think it's the next one. Let's go one more forward, Camille. Sorry, went a little out of the order, but about cracks emergent in the OTA oligopoly. This is really a follow-on of the other side of the coin from that first megatrend. On the one hand, you've got this great opportunity in this new world. On the other hand, when we look at Expedia traffic, um, ChatGPT, it's still a very small part of Expedia's referral traffic, but it's becoming increasingly growing. It's growing exponentially. And it's becoming an increasingly large part, and it potentially challenges, or maybe not challenges, but forces online booking sites to rethink
Yeah.
what is their place in the world. How do they acquire customers? Where do they really? How and where do they really add value in the booking funnel?
I mean, if I'm a company and an organization, that's a scary chart to me. If I don't have a plan to
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
you know to kind of to get on it. So we've been yapping here for a while. I want to take some of your questions, and kind of in the middle of that, maybe we can talk a little bit about how we went and did these. Lex, why don't you talk a little bit about how we, as we're kind of, we're going to take some questions, but just first, like, we start doing this in the summer when
Yeah.
nobody's really thinking very much about December and the end of the year. It's hot. you know
Yeah, I think it's like I'm about to go to the park to play softball, and I get a text from you like, "Time to start thinking mega trends."
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. So I will say, Seth, why don't you find a good question, and I'll give a little bit of a peek into how we do this. So we have, I don't know, a dozen or so, more than that now, reporters at Skift, and so they all covered different beats, slightly different within the travel industry. And kind of like, one of the very first things we do is we just brainstorm everything that we kind of are thinking about, forward looking, what we're hearing from our sources. And we kind of have this, just session where we just kind of like spill everything onto a document. And what we slowly do then is kind of go through, we talk to Seth and the research team, like, where is the data pointing? What kind of data are you seeing? Like, is this trend something that, you know, we just feel, or what kind of real numbers do we have to back them up? And we go through rounds. of kind of whittling them down and seeing what's resonating the most. We've probably, some of you who are probably listening right now have talked to one of our reporters at one of our events who has said, I'm exploring this mega trend. What do you think about this? So we talked to all of you. We talked to sources, we gathered data, and then, only the strongest survive. We have a lot of mega trends that, like, I really wish we could publish, but they just don't make the cut. Um,
I would say,
and then,
Sarah, that you pushed really hard this year for that data component.
yeah,
And so when like we can marry the anecdotal that we're hearing on earnings calls, et cetera, and that's what's surfacing up from the reporters, and then marry it with your push for data and work with Seth's team on Skift research, when it all comes together like that, then I think you get a really good trend.
yeah, and that's what you're seeing here is trends that we've both heard about from all of you, from executives, from sources, and that are backed by data in real numbers, looking into the future. So, Seth,
Uh,
what's our first question?
well, I've got one that ties into exactly what you were just saying.
Okay.
Did any trends surprise you as they took shape?
I think the mocktails one.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I was going to say.
I went in thinking that it was gonna be maybe bad, like the trend would be negative for the industry, but it completely is not.
And we didn't talk about the 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 two that I liked that kind of surprised me that were fun and kind of came out in the reporting was the Traveler about short term about trains filling in for short term
Oh.
flights. I like that one, and the Vibe Coding one, which we didn't talk about in this Megatrends, but we got to leave
You're
something in the
gonna have to
tank for you
read
to
it.
go read the
Yeah,
Megatrends.
yeah.
I
All right, I've
think
got another.
I will say the luxury one surprised me too. And even though I said I've been covering this trend for 20 years, the the sheer and I grew up in New York City, I see luxury all around me, but the amounts that we're talking about still
Oh,
blow my mind. And I was surprised that I could still be surprised. We have one stat about the family that has a trust fund for their children, and they earmark 300,000 a year just for travel. And I was just like, so the numbers are still shocking. I
A
guess I would say
$300,000 travel trust fund sounds
a year.
sounds
yeah, it sounds nice.
well. Actually, we do have an audience question on this luxury trend. So I think this is actually a really nice segue. And Grace Lee asked this one, and she's talking about how there are. I've also seen trends where luxury travelers are feeling fatigued by the monotonous look and feel of luxury hotels um, on the market today and how they're turned off by them not having character. So, how do we reconcile this luxury fatigue with the mega trend of the luxury hotel market kind of growing in size? And I think that there's a lot of ways to answer this. So, thank you for this question, Grace. I think it's a great point, which is that the luxury bubble continues to grow. Luxury continues to be load bearing, but luxury itself is evolving, right? Luxury is not static. And so um it's kind of one of the challenges for our industry is that you have to keep investing in luxury to stay up with the latest trends. I have a few more thoughts. What do you think, Lex or Sarah? How do we reconcile um how important
I,
is personality and character to luxury? Let me rephrase the question that way.
well, the person who I feel really lucky to read his stuff uh, regularly on Skift is Colin Nagy, who is just all over this and has been documenting for since I've been here almost 3 years now. Uh, that shift in luxury towards it's not kind of what you think. It's not just the lounge, it's not just the sheets, but it's the real service culture. Uh, how do you provide an experience for people who come to your property that is not just about nice stuff or the generic nice, but actual personalized and tailored for you with every detail just incredibly considered to make to serve you basically. And it's a service culture that he comes back to time and again.
Yeah, and I think, Seth, we've heard a lot of people talk about this on our podcast, how I would argue that maybe a lot of these quote unquote luxury hotels that are all looking the same, if you talk to somebody who in ultra luxury, they would say that that's not real luxury then. Because we've had a lot of people talk about how luxury isn't stuff anymore at all. It's time, it's exclusivity, it's privacy, it's security. Um and most certainly experience. But and so I think that a lot of people on the very high end structure, Grace, are like they much like you are thinking about this and are onto this and are trying very hard to kind of differentiate themselves.
Which is, of course, the challenge, which is that you can't
Yeah.
just slap the luxury. You can't just jack up your prices and slap the luxury label on your product and call it luxury. It's about thoughtful design and creation of the product and the experience and the service. Um, and there is huge demand for that, and we are seeing companies invest. I mean, I think of these. We reference these yacht collections: the Ritz Carlton yacht, the Four Seasons yacht, the Orient Express yacht, the Aman yacht. So the category continues to evolve, and it's a tough thing because luxury has this almost unlimited cap, right? It starts at $800 a night and it goes to $10,000 a night, and there's a lot of gradation in between that, right? From your run of the mill millionaire to your average billionaire to your multi-billionaire, right? Like, so there's a lot of gradation there, but we do see the demand for premium. And I would even go back to some of this other things about the I would call it premium over luxury. The front seat of JetBlue flying international with a business class product. That is not uber wealthy luxury. I think it's a great experience, but is it the most distinguished experience in luxury? No, but is it a good way to get out of economy? Yes. I mean, sorry, I'm not trying to. Hopefully, no one's from JetBlue is taking that personally. I like them in product, but I'm giving that example that it exists at multiple chain scales. Let's ask another question, and this goes back to our megatrend about sobriety, or at least California sobriety. And we actually received two questions, one from Carolyn, one from Deb, asking if when we say sober, do we really mean sober or do we just mean no alcohol? And they both asked the same question about cannabis, ayahuasca, other
Yeah.
other substances.
I feel strongly about this just because I've seen it happen in my own life. I'm from Michigan, and Michigan legalized cannabis a very long time ago, a lot longer than New York, which was just fairly recently. And I I'm always very surprised when we go to gatherings, like, and I'm not talking about like, you know, parties. Like, this is just like they're multi-generational parents and grown, grandparents, kids, all this. A lot of the alcohol, or at least beer, they're like right next to the cans of, Heineken, are cans of it, I don't even know what you call them, drinks infused with THC. Yeah,
THC, yeah.
exactly. And so I think that there is a segment of the population that is very much into wellness, where they're not going to do anything to their body like that is bad for it. But I think there's a good segment of the population as well that has found an alternative to alcohol. And
Yeah.
in that, they have found legalized marijuana or THC infused. I mean, whether it's gummies or drinks or any of that stuff. I mean, remember we were talking to, um, I forget his name right now, but he was from the Standard, and he was talking about the Boom Boom Room up on the top of the Standard, in the High Line on the Lower West Side. And I asked him, I was like, "Well, do you think?" Because he said mocktails are incredibly popular there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Do you think people are really sober, or you think they're dosing them?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, they're totally doing that." Yeah, it's like they're totally doing that.
I
So
like
yeah.
yeah. I Good answer, and I think that's probably the right answer. It's a
I
mix
think it's
of both.
both. Yeah, it's both.
Uh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to
The thing
mispronounce your
the
name.
thing
Oh,
no, but just one more thing. The thing
yeah,
that is gonna be interesting, and, like, we couldn't write a trend on it yet because we don't know. Marijuana is still illegal federally, and so it's a really super weird and incredibly interesting thing to study from a business perspective. It's why if you were ever to go into a dispensary in New York City, there are always gonna be, like, 5 very muscly men standing at the door. It's because almost everything they do is in cash, because it's hard to bank, like, all of that kind of stuff. But if that changes, if we have a federal change, a banking change, all of a sudden, all of these hospitality, um, like,
yeah.
public
That,
companies,
that's
companies
a
with bank
great
account, it's gonna snap,
com-
and it's gonna
companies with
change.
bank accounts and reputations and that are afraid of
It
federal lawsuits. Yeah,
it's
that's a
gonna
great
change
point.
overnight, and it's gonna be a huge, huge thing, but it's just not yet. Maybe it's a mega trend for
So
next
that's
year
an
or the year
excellent point
after
about
that.
the difference
Yeah.
between the consumer trend versus what,
Yes.
the infrastructure and the legality. We know the trend is there. We know it's bubbling up, but
Yeah.
it's hard for it to be a full scale industry trend. Also, globally, there are many parts of the world where alcohol is legal, but other drugs are not. Another
Correct.
question, and we're jumping back to our AI and tech conversation, which is a conversation we love to have at Skift. And I'm going to mispronounce. I'm going to do my best on your name. I think it's Vitalis. I think it's Vitalis. Uh, he asks, "Do you really believe that conversational type search will substitute classic travel booking functionality like website filter, stage funnel, etc.?" And I will throw this in just a second to Sarah and Lex. And I apologize for butchering your name, but I would say, Billy, I would say yes. Simple as that. Yes, I do really
I was
believe
gonna
that.
say yes too. Full
I'm
stop.
not going to be. I'm not going to be the contrarian here. I
No, no, typically,
agree.
well, all right.
No,
Let
no,
me, let me.
because I agree with you. I mean, of course, I think that's the direction this is going,
Yeah.
and
Let me
just
explain
generally because it's easier, and things want to be easier,
the context I would give
especially
to my
travel.
answer. The context I would give to my answer on this one is that conversational search is how you work with a travel agent. It's how you book travel before Google. You have to call someone up, have a conversation, give them the context, get their recommendation, and parse their answer. I think that in some ways, we were trained out of that because we wanted the convenience of digital booking, digital products, and connectivity to the internet. If we can have all of the personalization and conversation of a travel agent with all of the convenience of a digital e-commerce platform, I don't see why that wouldn't win in the long run. Similarly, follow-up question, which we can talk a little bit about, from an anonymous LinkedIn user, and that's okay, LinkedIn user. You don't have to share your name. We appreciate you asking a question anyways. LinkedIn user asks, what do each of you think about the feasibility of agentic AI? It gets talked about a lot by the industry, but can travelers legitimately use an agentic AI to book their trips today with minimal error? Feels like
No.
a lot of hype. Just as
No.
easy. Just as the answer was yes, this one is no.
I mean, right
W-
now. The answer is no
Yeah,
right now. And I don't
correct.
and I would think maybe in the next year, no. But then, I don't know. After
We're
that,
gonna get there.
maybe?
We
Yeah.
I
I don't know
think
how long. I don't know.
one of the things you hear AI people say a lot, which is a bit cliche, and yet I believe it, is that we are overestimating the impact of AI in the short term and underestimating the impact of AI in the long term. It's a cliche, and yet I think it is true. What we see is people spending a lot of time, money, and energy in investing in agentic AI. We have seen proof of concepts, and we know just from actually looking at user data in our Skift research that adoption of non agentic AI tools like large language models is growing rapidly. So people are adopting AI, people are embracing AI, and there is a huge amount of investment in agentic AI. If I kind of forward extrapolate where those things will end up, it will be with agentic AI. Now, what if agentic AI makes an error? I think, again, it's similar to what if your self driving car makes an error? It will make an error. The question is not if it will make an error. The question is, will it make errors more? Will it do better or worse than a human? Because guess what? when I work with a travel agent, or when I work with an online travel agency, or when I work with a brand, they make plenty of mistakes. I've had my flights messed up. I've had my hotels messed up. I've had my cars messed up. God knows, I mean, I don't want to pick on car rentals, but God knows I've had my car rentals messed up. Like, so mistakes are a part of travel. It's actually, we have a megatrend on it, on protection, and I think Allianz, who gave that trend, helped present that trend on protection and insurance. There will be mistakes in travel. There will be issues. Things will go wrong. It's complex. But the question is not, will it happen? It's, will it happen? Will will it be low enough that it's better or equal to a human? Which I think we're
So,
going to get there eventually.
so Seth, let's take one more and then we're going to
Okay.
wrap. Let's take one more.
One more. And thank you all so much for participating and for the questions. We just love seeing everyone chatting and going. I think I see one on. Do you see one you like, Sarah? Because you
I
should do
did.
it.
I said,
Go for
is
it.
the decline in US inbound likely to benefit other global destinations? And I think the answer there is yes. I think that, thank you, Paul Taylor, for asking this. People haven't, those who are not coming to the United States have not stopped traveling.
Absolutely.
They are going other places. We know that. So yeah, I think that our loss is other countries' gain.
Yeah, if you are a German and you have the money for a vacation and you are upset about Trump's tariffs, do you cut off your nose to spite the face, so to speak, and just cancel your vacation? Of course not. You go somewhere else. And so this is definitely an opportunity for other international destinations to eat our lunch a little bit. We see across the Caribbean, across South America, across Europe, this is definitely an opportunity to capitalize. Let our loss be your gain.
Lex, have any closing words?
No, this was it was a fun package, and I'm going to go reread them all, and we'll get started on next year's soon enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That
that's
text
right.
is coming. It's coming. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, everybody who submitted questions. I was watching the conversation go on as it was going on. Thank you so much. We have a Megatrends event coming up. We have one in New York. We have one in London. So if you're in either of those two places on January 20th or January 22nd, please come and say hello. And we also have one in South Africa. If you want to go up to the top of the mountain, that'll be also really super cool. And we always have all of our other events that you can come on Skift Live and learn all about, including Global Forum. That is every September. It's never too early to come on board. So please go to skift.com, read all of the Megatrends, share them with your friends, and we will see you at the next LinkedIn Live. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.